Next, from Springfield, House Speaker Michael Madigan talks to Illinois firefighters about Illinois' fiscal crisis and the pension and health insurance costs that are a large part of state spending. This runs about 15 minutes.
Let me welcome you to Springfield, Illinois, the capital of your government. Your government. It's not my government, it's your government. And today, I want to talk about some of the items which are confronting your government, our government. And these are not items that normally appear on your agenda for Lobby Day. So, understandably, when you come to the Capitol and you're working a Lobby Day while you're talking about issues which are very directly related to you, to what you do in life, to what firefighters do, and that's understandable, and that's the way that it should be. However, your state of Illinois is in a lot of difficulty, a lot of difficulty. And let's try to understand it this way. You all know that early in January, the legislature raised the Illinois income tax by over 60%, a huge increase. That 60% increase in the income tax will bring into the state on an annual basis $6 billion. So the state, through that increase in the tax, increased its receipts by $6 billion. To put that into perspective in terms of the problems that we face as we go forward, $6 billion is the exact amount of money that the legislature will be required to pay over to the 5 state pension systems in the next budget. So let me just step back a little bit. The state of Illinois supports 5 pension systems. There's the State Employees Retirement System, which is a pension system for generally all of the people that work for the state of Illinois. Next, there's the Teachers Retirement System, which is a pension system for school teachers in elementary and secondary districts outside of Chicago. The Chicago school system has its own pension system. For everybody else, there's the Teachers Retirement System, generally referred to as TRS. Next, there is a system called SURS. SURS, and this system has been created for those people who work for the universities, the University of Illinois, Northern Illinois, Eastern Illinois, Western Illinois, and there are others. Next, there's a pension system for people in the legislature, like me. Next, there's a pension system for judges. All the judges in the state of Illinois are in the same pension system, and under state law, the state is obligated to support all 5 of those pension systems. What's interesting here is that in the case of 2 of them, the TRS, the Teachers Retirement System, and the SURS, you're talking about people who never worked for the state of Illinois. Local school teachers work for local school districts. People who work for universities work for universities. They don't work for the state of Illinois. But yet, our government, your government, is obligated under state law to make those payments to support those systems. And I mentioned a $6 billion requirement to all of the state pension systems. The obligation to the Teachers Retirement System, the one that supports school teachers outside the city of Chicago, is exactly 1/2 of the $6 billion. So 1/2 of the $6 billion goes to support pensions for people who never worked for the state of Illinois. So you might rightly say, well, we listened to Pat when he introduced you. You've been here so long that we think that you were here when Abe Lincoln set the place up. And so a lot of this stuff must have happened on your watch. And certainly some of it did. Maybe not all of it, but some of it did. That's not an excuse, because here we are today. We've got a state government that raises receipts by tax increase by $6 billion, and it's going to send $6 billion over to pension systems. There are other problems. Unemployment insurance. Most of you don't get involved with unemployment insurance. Fortunately, you don't suffer through layoffs. But there are others in the state that suffer through layoffs. They apply for unemployment insurance. It's a joint state-federal program where a state system can borrow from federal government to meet its needs when there's an economic downturn. And Illinois has done that. And we've borrowed a lot of money, but the system is such that you hit a certain point, the federal government will say to a state, all right, it's time for you to stop borrowing, and if you continue to borrow, we're going to charge interest on the borrowing, and the interest payment cannot come out of the special fund established for unemployment insurance. It must come out of your general account, the one that's going to make that $6 billion payment to those pension systems. Now, fortunately, we've shown a lot of progress on unemployment insurance over the last few weeks. And there have been very meaningful discussions in the governor's office involving people from organized labor, and I see Mike Kerrigan in the back of the room, and he's been involved in the discussions, people from the business community. We're very close to moving legislation that will temporarily respond to the demands coming from the federal government, carry us into the fall, where we hope to do more. There's a part of our hope and our thinking that maybe the economy will pick up a little bit so that the problem will be not as bad as it is today. Next, let me get into what your state government does for health care. You're all familiar with health care. It's part of your job. You're concerned about that when you take your retirement, that you have health care. So the state of Illinois provides health care for employees like me. It also provides health care for retirees. Those that have retired from the state can be part of the state health plan, no premium. No premium. Okay? Next, there's a class of retirees that took an early retirement about 10 years ago. About 40,000 people that are under the age of 65 and are on the state health plan. They don't pay any premium. They do pay some deductibles. They have some co-pays. Their dependents can be on the plan, no premium, up to age 26. If the dependent is in the military, they can be on the plan up to age 30, no premium. So this is another problem that demands attention, demands action. And so we're committed to visit this program and deal with the 40,000 people that are under the age of 65. They're on this plan. They're probably off doing other meaningful economic things. A lot of them are right here in Springfield. And so they may have retired from the state. They may be a lobbyist. You may bump into them in the Capitol building. They're doing something to bring in some more income, and they're getting their health care from the state, no premium. Next, back to downstate school teachers. You know, the people that get those pension payments out of the account, they have a health plan for their retirees. So these are retired school teachers. The active employees pay in, the retired teachers pay in, the local districts pay in, and the state pays in. So you might ask, as I asked not too long ago, with the state in such financial difficulty, why are we subsidizing health care for retirees from governments that are not involved with the state? Again, people that never worked for the state of Illinois. Well, we're doing it. And we feel, we clearly believe that that has to be revisited and reviewed and changed as we go forward, which leads me into the same type of program for community college people. So those that are retired from community colleges, and by the way, they're part of SURS, one of those state systems that gets all that state money. The same thing happens here. They have a program of health care for retirees. This program is close to bankruptcy. And so this session, over the next few months, we will be required to revisit this and make a judgment what will be the involvement of the state of Illinois in a program which is designed to provide health care for people who never worked for the state of Illinois. We will do that. We've got a lot of different ideas. They will not be welcomed by the participants in the program because the program will not be as rich as it was before. Now, that's just a flavor for the type of problems that we're attempting to deal with over in the Capitol building. None of this is easy, and it's made even more difficult because of the poor economic condition all across the country. If the national economy were to pick up, state receipts would improve, a lot of the problems would not be so difficult. I didn't come here this morning to ask for a lot of sympathy. You can sit there and listen to what I've said and say to yourself, well, you know what to do. Why don't you just go and do your job? And that's what we're going to do. But I think it's important that you as Illinoisans truly understand the real difficult fiscal condition of the state of Illinois, your government, and the types of problems that we're being called upon to deal with right in the midst of this economic recession. So I would simply ask, when you hear and see reports about what's happening in the legislature, what's happening with the state government, keep in mind what I said this morning, because I think you will agree with me. The media is not going to portray these things correctly. The media is going to do what they do. They're going to take an event and they're going to manufacture a story out of it. That's what they do. They don't spend a lot of time getting into the nitty-gritty of the types of things that I just spoke about this morning. And so the reporting will, at best, be fragmented. Please keep in mind what I set out this morning. Please keep in mind, as Pat said, I have a long history of working for working people. Over those 40 years, I've been elected from the same general area on the southwest side of Chicago. There's a lot of firemen out there. They know me real well. And the way I describe it is to say that the people in my neighborhood are working people. When they go to the 7-Eleven in the morning to buy a newspaper, number one, they do not buy the Chicago Tribune. They don't do that. Okay? Yeah, right. Number two, they'll probably buy the Sun-Times, and they will not go to the Wall Street quotations. They'll go to the sports section, and the first thing they'll want to learn is what happened to the White Sox last night, which is good. So those are people that I represent. They're not living off of interest income. They're not living off of dividend income. They're not checking the Wall Street quotes day in and day out. They would just like to have a job, make a living, be able to make a mortgage payment, be able to make a tuition payment, be able to provide for the elderly members of their family in the twilight of their lives. That's all they want. And those are the type of people that I represent. I'm not going to change. They're not going to change. And so when I come down here to do what I do in the legislature, I'm here on behalf of working people, their needs, their desires. I think I pretty much know what they are, and I'm committed to continue to do that type of representation. So thank you very much for having me this morning. Best of luck to all of you during your work. Best of luck to you in your lives and whatever you do. And Pat, thanks again.
You're watching the Illinois Channel. an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois.